God damn it.
What the fuck?
Oh! Holy shit!
All right, so I didn't film the buying process on this one because it was the original owner, a very old woman, and I just wanted to respect her privacy. But I just bought this beautiful 1990 Cutlass Cruiser wagon, and it only has, I haven't looked at the odometer, 59,000 miles on it. So this is a true one owner. I have all the paperwork for this car dating back to when it was brand spanking new and she bought it off the lot. This will be the first maiden voyage, and as I always customarily do, I'm filming it just in case anything weird happens, but she maintained this thing very well. Dealer maintained, and they saw this little old lady come in and they ripped her off wherever they could. It's a real shame, but works out for me because it has loads of new parts I probably didn't even need. Fuel pump, water pump, alternator. It's got 4 new tires on it. All kinds of work's been done to this car. The things that don't work, unfortunately, the air conditioning. It does blow cold, but she told me that the Freon needs to be topped off quite a bit. So it could be anything from a leaking one of the seals, or it could be the compressor. The compressor does work, so I think that's okay. But again, maybe the compressor itself has a leak. Tachometer. A little off. You can see it's always reading at the 2 gram mark, but my A-body Sentry doesn't even have a tach, so not really a big deal. Radio is having issues. The tape, something, I don't know, she was telling me something's up with the tape stuck in there. I have known of this wagon for quite a long time. Here, as long as I've lived in Miami, it's been in a very wealthy area where it's always been parked. And I've seen, I saw that it was being driven, obviously. I've always had my eye on this wagon outside this little old house in a millionaire's neighborhood. You can tell this woman's probably lived there since it was just a bunch of woods. And so anyway, I saw it get posted for sale. I just so happened to be scrolling Craigslist, and there it was for sale. And I pass it at least once a week, and I'm always checking to see if it's still there, if there's going to be a for sale sign. And I've always thought about knocking on her door, but I saw she was driving it because it'd always be moved, and I'm like, oh, I don't want to bother this poor woman. And well, here I am. I own the car. I bought it for $825, and now you may be thinking, well, you buy all these cars at Copart for $300. Why would you pay so much for this? But remember, when I buy a car at Copart, take for example the Century. I bought the Century for $325. After all the Copart fees, you're up in the high 500s, and then as it gets shipped to my door, so add another $100 there, 100 and change. Actually, that one cost me less because I did a third-party shipping company. I picked it up in West Palm. It only charged me $60. Point is, the Century, for example, all said and done, titled in my name, registered, cost me somewhere in the 700 mark, which isn't bad. I mean, it's a 40,000 mile Century, and that's in my name, registered, road legal. So this car I've been to for $825, and unlike the Century, I have all its ownership history. So really, I paid barely any more for this car, and it was a car that I've been watching for a long time. And it's a hard to find car. So as is the Century, but these wagons especially, everybody wants a wagon these days, including me. So when you find one and the price is right, you buy it. And with 59,000 miles on it, I don't think you can get hurt in this thing for $800. Now, am I gonna sell it? No. I hoard everything. Very clean interior. It's got the classic old lady artifact. She had a dog at ride in here, so she had all this shit laid down. That window does not go down, and you can see by her note. And there was also one in the AC. It said no AC. She's very, in the paperwork, again, it's all in the Cobalt, but there is just more paperwork than when you get a mortgage. I mean, it's like a binder. There's 2, calls them jackets. There's jacket 1, which is major repair history, and jacket 2 for like the owner's manual, and she has every piece of paperwork for this car. There was even a little key tag. When she bought the car new, it's kept an X through it, says new. I mean, she kept everything. Everything. I got about 1,000 sets of keys to this car, the original keys, this, that. I love that kind of shit. So I'm very happy with this purchase. And again, we're putting along here. We're doing just fine. We haven't even been paying attention to the car. I did test drive it, obviously. It's another benefit of buying on Craigslist. You can actually inspect the car before you buy it, like really inspect it, drive it, talk to the owner, look at the history. And I did my due diligence, of course, but when you got a 90-year-old woman selling you a car, she's not like dumping Lucas in the thing. She was very transparent and right down to every little issue this car has. And there's not many. The valve cover leaks a tiny bit, and the car's been sitting. She ended up buying a new car because she wanted to have one more new car in her lifetime. It's very sad, actually, before she dies. She seemed healthy, but she's old. She's like, I want to have the thrill of owning a new car one last time. She bought a new Equinox, and she has trouble driving it already because it's so big. But she was very transparent on this car. And that's nice. Like, I love the thrill of the gamble of Copart, but sometimes it's nice to know that your hard-earned money, when you give it to somebody, there's gonna be no surprises. You know what I mean? When I give my money to Copart, there's a lot of surprises sometimes. Look at my fucking van. The thing's still busted. I just haven't had time to put the yoke in. And yet I have time to go buy more cars, right? So anyway, that's the story with the Cutlass Cruiser Wagon. I'll do some footage when I get back to the house, but I gotta say, it drives very nice. Car feels good. We look at the gauges, and everything checks out. Oil pressure, temp, tachometer, no. Gas gauge, maybe. Voltage is good. We got a fasten seatbelt light, and that's it. So again, I get the AC sorted on this car, and change the fluids out. It's gonna be a great, reliable cruiser. And I'm looking forward to putting my kayak up on the roof, taking this thing to the beach. So anyway, I'll show you guys more when I get back to the house. All right, guys, real quick video. First of all, you'll see I finally got a haircut and trimmed my beard up a little bit. And we're over here at my Malaise headquarters. Not all of my Malaise 80s, 90s cars are here, but I store a good chunk of them here. In this parking garage, I pay monthly per car. And we got the Mercedes here. And I alternate them too. Sometimes I'll put different ones over here, but this is generally the layout that I have over here. The Mercedes, the blue Trofeo, the Riviera, the Roadmaster. Right now I have the 99 328 IS M Sport Coupe here. And last but not least, cover up that dent, we have the new, what you've seen in this video for the first time, 1990 Oldsmobile Custom Cruiser, Cutlass Cruiser. They got a bunch of nicknames, these wagons, but you know what it is just by looking at it. It's an A-body wagon. And I thought I'd do a quick video of the outside because I did a clip of this car right after I bought it. That was a few weeks ago. I've been very busy. Haven't had a chance to A, make new content, or B, finish this video. And when I put it together tonight, I said, oh geez, I never did an exterior shot of the wagon. So it's definitely not perfect. I'm gonna disclose that right now. You're gonna see, and it's gotten worse since I bought it, just from sitting out in the elements. This wagon was babied up until recently by its original owner. Was always in a carport. And then she got a new car earlier in the year, put this one outside, and these very fragile A-body paint jobs combined with sun they've never felt before in 30 years, it's not a good mix. So sure enough, it's starting to flake off in areas. The hood, when I got it, there was a tiny, it was about this much on the hood, and now it's getting worse, and the roof has gotten much worse, all the way back. What am I gonna do? You know, I can't store them all inside. So what I'll end up doing eventually, the beauty of it is the sides of the vehicle are perfect. At least the passenger side is perfect. The driver's side, I think I talked about it earlier in the video, but I didn't show it. This is the classic grandma fender bender in the front here. I might try to pop it out. I mean, if it's not possible, if I can't at least make it look better, then I'll get another fender. That's the worst of the damage on the car. And then, you know, it's missing some trim pieces, and again, the minor well, not so minor paint issues, but the sides of the car are perfect. It's just the upper areas where the sun beats down. This is one of those vehicles that, and I might throw into this video if there's time, if it's not too long. And a lot of people are going to get triggered by this, but this was an $800 wagon. I'm not going to do a $3,000 paint job on it. It would make no sense. I would just go buy one with a perfect paint job for $3 grand. So what I'll probably do, it's what I did on the Malibus they sell, the AT&T cars, rattle can, you know? This will be tougher to match than that snow Arctic white on the Malibus, so I might have to find something a little more eggshell, but it'll protect it from any rust, and it'll certainly look better. Again, this is a vehicle, I didn't buy this to be a show winner. It's just because of my love for A bodies, my love for 80s, 90s GM, and it's going to be a great, and it has been a great, go to the beach, take the kiddo, throw the kayak on the roof, and the beach chairs and the cooler in the back. It's the perfect wagon for that. 59,000 miles, beautifully optioned. I love the white. I love the wheels. They're just like the wheels on my, and it's to be expected, just like the wheels on my Trofeo. Well, similar, not exactly alike, but we're talking the same brand here, so it's going to be very similar. So yeah, it's a great wagon. You can see it's got the AARP stickers. There's one on this window too. And I think I showed the inside a little bit, but it's in pretty good shape. I've done a few things to the car in the past couple of weeks when I've had time. Just necessary things. Like I haven't cleaned this nasty, you know, wear on that center armrest yet. You can see the driver's seat's in great shape. Here's all the records I have. Massive folder of all the service history. I know every single thing that's been on this car, every single oil change, you name it. She was one of those elderly ladies that kept every record and had handwritten, typewritten notes about what the car needed. She put all new weather stripping in. I mean, she really maintained this thing well. So one of the issues I was having, the day after I bought it, we had a heavy rainstorm, and I got in I drove it somewhere. The rainstorm happened. I got back in it, and I look over on the passenger footwell, and there was just, the carpet was soaked. So anyway, I remedied that. I obviously shop vacked it out. What I did was I took the door panel off and just found that the drains were clogged here, and you know, water's getting in because the weather stripping's all, the inner weather stripping's in great shape, but this stuff here is, which is very typical on these, is all dry rotted. So just for the time being, until I get that weather stripping, I just put some Gorilla Tape there. This window also wasn't working. I just messed around with the track and got it working again. It was working, it was just getting stuck. So now that works. She had I think I showed it earlier in the video. Again, I filmed that about 2 weeks ago, so I'm not quite sure. Maybe it might have been even 3 weeks ago. But she had a piece of masking tape that had written on it, do not open window. So I'm very happy with it. Again, I've been looking for a nice wagon for a while now for a little money. They don't come through the auction as often as, say, what else I've bought at Copart. Here it is, 3300. I know you can't see it, I apologize. But you know what a 3300 looks like if you're on this channel, at least I have to assume. And it's a 3300 with 59,000 miles. It's got 4 new tires on it. The body's perfectly straight. We'll just ignore that one fender. Interior's in great shape, and it runs and drives fantastic. So I'll start it up for you so you guys can see the cluster at night. Stuck back in my pocket. Oh, I also got the radio working again. There was a like Melodies of Our Time cassette stuck in there, so I got that out. And of the 2 speakers that the custom cruiser, Cutlass cruiser wagon came with, only one's working. But one's better than none, right? You can see that's just a seatbelt light. All gauges check out. 59,594 miles. So it drives real nice. It has a nice sound to it too. It's almost as if someone did something with the exhaust. Probably not intentionally, but maybe the catalytic converter was removed or something, or I don't know, because I've owned a million 3300s, I've owned a million 3800s. I've got the A-body Century, and it is very quiet. And this thing has a nice sound to it, so I have no problem with that. I wouldn't like it as much if it was on the A-body Century, because again, the Buick to me is more luxurious, but this is my beach wagon. I don't mind it having a little bit of sound. All right, guys, here's just a quick update on the AT&T Malibu. I have a buyer coming later today, and it was kind of bothering me just how many paint issues this particular Malibu had. Now, they all typically have some spots where the paint has flaked off. It's just an issue with these Malibus, the way the paint was, whatever type of paint they use, or the way it applies, whatever it is. This one had quite a few issue areas. I don't bother to remedy these paint issues in these cars because it's basic transportation for somebody. I'm selling them pretty cheap. This one's listed for $1,800 right now, and usually I sell them for around $1,500. The most I've ever sold one for is $1,650. However, that one had 168,000 miles on it. This one only has 116. What I did with this car, if you haven't noticed already, is I painted all the areas where the paint had flaked off. If you go back to the first Alante video, you might see it for a split second, or the video where I walked around the Copart lot, and this is one of the cars in the thumbnail. Well, there's always a Malibu, but it was a video where I went and looked at the Alante. So you can see that I've pretty much got rid of almost every paint issue in the car. Yes, I see the overspray. That comes right off rubbing alcohol. I already did the windows. Of course, I tape things off, but you know, sometimes it's inevitable unless you spend hours doing prep work, which I'm not going to do in a car that I'm selling for cheap. So, but if you remember, there was, this side was all right, and over there, that's what Copart does. They spray paint over the AT&T stuff. So there's already spray paint all over the car, so it really doesn't hurt to put a little bit more. There used to be a big area right here. The paint had all flaked off, and this pretty much this entire upper area, this pillar, whatever you want to call it, there was a big area here it was missing, and it was missing all down here. So put a couple of coats of white spray paint on. Again, nope, not at all professional body work. This was also an area over here. But again, it makes the car look a little bit better. It stops any rust from happening. The hood in particular had a lot of big, like about the size of a quarter, spots where the paint had flaked off and it started to rust. So I painted those up, and underneath the headlights, you can kind of see I got a little bit of overspray on the rubber trim there, which I can probably get off. But underneath the headlights, the paint had all faded off. It was black. Something like this that most people are buying just for point A to point B transportation, you know, they don't care if it looks perfect, but they also, you know, they might get turned off by massive areas of paint missing from the vehicle, thinking that it's going to lead to rust, or again, they might just want it to look decent at least. So now you look at the car and there's no more major areas where paint is missing. I'm happy I took the time to do it. Typically I don't, but this Malibu in particular had the most paint missing in comparison to all the other ones that I've bought. Just little extra details that don't cost any more than a few dollars, and maybe a half hour, an hour of your time, and it can really make a difference in getting a vehicle sold. And you can see I also detailed the inside. There's a little bit of dirt on the carpet for me, but this was pretty nasty in here before, if you recall. And now it's nice and clean, with the exception of some of my trash in here. But so anyway, that's the story with the Malibu, and you guys know there'll be plenty more to come in the future, so keep an eye out for that.